Welcome to the course Design of Reinforced Concrete Structures. Myself, S. Kranti Vijaya, working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Civil Engineering, Vigyan Institute of Information Technology, Duvada. In this lecture, we are going to discuss regarding the design philosophies of reinforced cement concrete or the methods of design of RCC and what is meant by the working stress method and the drawbacks of the working stress method, and we are going to discuss regarding the ultimate load method. So in the previous lecture what we have seen, we have already discussed regarding the reinforced cement concrete, and we have discussed what are the types of loads which are acting on a structure, what is meant by structural design, and we have seen the code of practice for design of reinforced cement concrete structures. Now in today's lecture we are going to discuss the different methods of design of RCC. So for the design of RCC structures we have three methods. So we are going to discuss regarding the methods, the three methods what are given in the code IS 456 2000. So first let us start with what are the methods of RCC design or the design philosophies. So the first method, the first design method of RCC is the working stress method. So the working stress method is a traditional method and it is introduced in early 1900s. So the next method is the ultimate load method. So the ultimate load method is introduced in 1966. And the next method is the limit state design method. So the limit state design method is developed in 1955, introduced in 1978, and it is implemented in India since 2000. So these are the three design methods for RCC: the working stress method, the ultimate load method, and the limit state of design method. So this is in short is called as WSM, the working stress method, ULM, that is the ultimate load method, and LSM, that is the limit state method. So all these methods, this is the traditional method, and based on the drawbacks in this particular working stress method, they have made changes and they have brought the ultimate load method. So as still there are more drawbacks in the ultimate load method, finally they came up with a final method, design method, which is the limit state design method, which we are now currently using for the design of RCC structures. So what in the design of RCC structure, what is the method what we have to follow now? The design method is being the limit state of design method, or limit state method is what we are following nowadays for the design of reinforced concrete structures. Now first let us see the what is meant by working stress method, ultimate load method, and the limit state of design method. So before going into detail what is working stress method, ultimate load method, and the limit state design method, let us see a small concept regarding the structural design. So here let us take the example of a structural member. So here I am taking the example of a beam. Okay. So if some load W, okay, so W here will be the working load. W here is what? It is the working load. So some load W is acting on the particular structural member. So what it will happen when if some load is acting on the particular structural member, it starts deflecting, isn't it or not? It starts deflecting, and what happens within the member, they are going to form some stresses, isn't it or not? So they are going to form some stresses. So stresses are formed within the structural member. Is it or not? So what we have discussed the objectives of structural design, that is the structure should be possess some sufficient strength and it should be serviceable, isn't it or not? So what the structure, it should have sufficient strength and should be serviceable. That is what I am keeping into consideration, keeping the point safety, that is taking the point safety into consideration. So what the structure should be having sufficient strength and it should be serviceable, isn't it or not? So here what is this W? This W is the working load. So in the design methods, what we are going to do is we are going to enhance the load. What we are going to enhance the load, and we are going to decrease the material strength. So one thing is we are going to enhance the load and decrease the material strength in what? In the structural design. While designing, we are going to take these 2 points into consideration. So now let us see what does that mean, enhancing the load and decreasing the material strength. So here what? In RCC, what are the 2 materials we have? The 2 materials are being concrete and steel. So the concrete, it has some strength, okay, and steel also it has some strength, isn't it or not? So what we are going to do is, keeping the safety point of view, taking into consideration the safety point of view, we are going to decrease the strength of the material. That is, in the design, we are going to use the decreased material strength. For suppose if the strength of the particular material, like for suppose concrete is a material, isn't it or not? So if the strength of the concrete is FCK, that is the characteristic compressive strength of the concrete, isn't it or not? So this particular strength FCK is not taken into consideration in the design. Okay, we are going to reduce the strength of the material by dividing it with a suitable partial safety factor. So this material strength is what? It is divided with a factor of safety. So by dividing it with a factor of safety, what I am doing here? I am reducing the material strength, and I am designing in such a way that this particular material can resist, or this particular material has only this much of strength. Okay, is it clear or not? So what this material possesses only this much of strength. So if more than that, if the stresses induced are more than that, what it will happen? The material, it will start failing. So that is what I'm going to consider in the design. And the other point what I'm going to consider in the design is, I am going to enhance the load. So enhancing the load in the sense is what? Here W is what? Here W is the working load, that is the service load acting on that particular structural member. So I am designing the, keeping the safety point of view, what I am going to do is I am going to design for more loads. That is, I am increasing the load here. So how I am going to increase the load? I am going to increase the load by multiplying the load with some factor of safety. Okay. So what? By multiplying the load with some factor of safety. Okay. So here what? I am going to multiply this load with some suitable factor of safety value, and from that I am going to design for the ultimate load. I am going to what? Design for the ultimate load. So what does that mean here? That is, actually the loads which are acting on the structure are only W. Okay. But what I am doing here? I am increasing the load and designing for that. So that what? The structure can be safe even in the cases when they are overloading acting on the structure. For suppose, throughout the life of the structure, service life of the structure, in some cases or the other cases, if the load acting on the structure, if it is exceeding the service load, then what happens? The structure, it might start collapsing, isn't it or not? If I'll design for the working load, if in some cases, okay, throughout the entire life of the structure, if the load is exceeding this particular working load, then what? This particular structural member, it cannot resist and it will fail. So for that reason, what I am doing is, here in the design, okay, keeping safety point of view, we are going to enhance the load by increasing the load, by multiplying it with a suitable factor of safety, and we are designing for the ultimate load, and we are designing for the lesser material strength. That is, when the working loads are acting, what? This particular material, concrete, and they have some strength. They can take some stresses developed, isn't it or not? So that will be the strength of the materials. But here what I am going to do is, I am going to reduce the strength, and I am going to tell that these materials, concrete, and I am going to design that these materials, concrete and steel, can take the stresses up to a certain limit. So I am limiting the stresses there. Okay, even though the concrete and steel materials, they can take more stresses also, but I am limiting the stresses, and for that I am designing. So that what it will happen? Due to the working loads, even though in the lifespan, if there are extra stresses developed, then there is a reserve so that the materials will not fail. So here what? Keeping the safety point of view, one thing is we are enhancing the load, that is, we are increasing the load, and for that load we are designing, and we are decreasing the material strength, and for that material strength we are designing, so that what? Our structure will be in safe position. That is, it will be have sufficient strength, and also it will be serviceable. So now let us see what is working stress method. So working stress method is what? It is the oldest method which is used in the design of RCC structure, and this working stress method is based on the elastic theory, and it assumes that both the steel and concrete are elastic and they obey Hooke's law. That is, both the stress strain curves for the steel as well as concrete are taken up to the elastic behavior only. For suppose, let us draw the stress strain curve for concrete and steel. So here will be the stress, and here we are going to have the strain. So here will be the stress, and here we are going to have the strain. So what in this particular working stress method, what they have assumed, they have made some assumptions, the assumptions being both the concrete and steel are elastic. That is, the concrete and steel have elastic behavior. In general, what the concrete and steel, after the elastic point, that is the yield point, they will go to the plastic stage. Here also it goes to the plastic stage. But here in this particular working stress method, the stress strain curves are confined to the elastic region only. So up to this elastic region only, both the stress strain curves are confined in the working stress method. That is, the materials, both the concrete as well as steel, they will not go beyond the elastic range. That is, they will not go into the plastic stage. So what does that mean? That we cannot see any deformation in the particular materials, because in the elastic range in the sense what, after the removal of the load also the members will go back to their original position. So up to that stage only the stress strain behavior of the materials, that is the concrete as well as steel, are considered in the working stress method. So, and what all they have assumed? They have assumed that the bond between the steel and the concrete is perfect. That is, there is a good bond between the steel and the concrete, and the permissible stresses of the materials are obtained. So taking all these points or assuming all these points, they have found out the permissible stress of the materials, the concrete as well as the steel, and for that permissible stresses they have designed. So in this method of working stress method, the permissible stresses are not exceeded anywhere in the structure when it is subjected to a worst combination of working loads. So what does this point means? So based on the assumptions, what they have done is they have taken certain values of the permissible stresses, and what they have told that in this particular method, the main basis of this particular method is anywhere in the structure, okay, due to any worst combination of working loads. So we have already discussed what is a working load. So whatever the working load, worst combination of working load it may be, the stresses in the materials will not exceed the permissible stresses. That is what here they have limited the stresses in such a way that the stresses which are coming on the structure due to the external loads are not being exceeded. So on that basis they have taken this particular method, working stress method. So how they have calculated the permissible stresses? The permissible stresses are calculated by using the ultimate stresses of concrete for the concrete material and the yield strength of steel for the material steel, and they have divided that with a suitable factor of safety. The permissible or the allowable stresses are how they are calculated by the ultimate strength or the ultimate stress for concrete divided by factor of safety, and the yield strength of steel or the yield stress of steel divided by the factor of safety. So what are the factor of safety values which are considered here? The factor of safety values which are considered here are, for the material concrete the factor of safety is considered as 3, and for the material steel it is considered as 1.78. So here what? The design is done in such a way that the permissible stresses or the allowable stresses, how they are calculated? By the ultimate strength. If you are considering the material concrete, it is ultimate strength divided by the factor of safety. So what is the factor of safety for concrete? It is 3 here, okay, and for the steel, the yield strength divided by the factor of safety. What is the factor of safety for steel here? It is 1.78. So that is how they have calculated by the permissible stresses or the allowable stresses, and they have to the basis of which this method is the basis on which this method works is the permissible stresses. So due to the worst combination of the working loads also, the permissible stresses, the stresses developed in the structure will not exceed the permissible stresses. So from the above equation, what we can observe? We can observe that the permissible stresses of the concrete is limited to 1/3 value of its actual strength. So what does that mean? What does that mean? For suppose if FCK is the ultimate strength of the concrete, then what they have divided it with a suitable factor of safety, which is 3. So what is happening here? Actually, this is the strength of the concrete. This much strength it has. But what we are designing for? We are designing that the concrete has only 1/3 strength. Only 1/3 strength is being taken into consideration in the design. So what is happening here? The permissible stresses of the concrete is limited to the 1/3 value of its actual strength. So only the 1/3 value of the actual strength is taken into consideration in the design. Only this much 1/3 strength of the 1/3 of the actual strength only can be taken up by the concrete. So in the similar way, for the steel also, what? It is limited to 1/1.78 value of its actual strength. So if the yield strength of steel is Fy divided by factor of safety, it is 1.78. That is 1/1.78 value of its actual strength is only considered in the design. So what is happening here? Here we are limiting the strength, isn't it or not? Even though if it is possessing more strength, we are restricting or we are limiting the strength, and for that only we are designing. That is, we are not fully utilizing the strength of the materials, that is the concrete as well as the steel. So due to that, what happens? So due to that, we get the uneconomical sections. That is, larger sections are being formed in the working stress method. So in the working stress method, what they have reduced the material strength by dividing it with a suitable factor of safety for the working loads. Here the ultimate load is not considered, only the working load is only considered. For the working load only they have designed the members, and they have designed the members for the limiting permissible stresses. That is, they have decreased the material strength, and for that they have designed. So due to that, what is happening? We are reducing the material strength. That is, the material strength is being limited, and for that only the design is being done. So due to that, the sections which are forming here are wider and bigger, so that what more amount of materials are required here for small amounts of load. So that is the reason why the working stress method give uneconomical sections. So in the working stress method, previously in the calculating the permissible stresses, we have seen regarding the yield stresses and the ultimate stress. So why we are naming it as yield stress for steel and ultimate stress for concrete? Yield stress for steel because steel is a ductile material, and the ultimate stresses it is used for concrete because concrete is a brittle material. So what is a ductile material and brittle material? We have already discussed. So the ductile material is a material which gives sufficient warning before the failure. That is, it doesn't suddenly fail on loads. And the other one is a brittle material. So brittle material in the sense the material which has a sudden failure. So due to the application of the loads, it suddenly fails. It doesn't give any warning before the failure. So concrete is a brittle material and steel is being a ductile material. So how we are going to apply this particular working stress method for reinforced cement concrete? We'll see now. So whenever a load is applied on the structural member, what happens? There will be some stresses which are developed within the structure. Okay. So how we'll calculate this particular stresses? The particular stresses which are developed in the members are calculated from strength of materials. So for each individual materials, we are going to calculate the strength based on the strength of materials. We are going to calculate the stresses. But here the material what we are using is what? It is RCC. RCC is reinforced cement concrete, isn't or not? So RCC is a composite material. That is, it is having two materials, concrete and steel. But in strength of materials, what we can do? We can calculate only for individual materials. But here it is a composite material. So how we will find out the stresses in a RCC is what we will see now. So what? RCC is a composite material which is a mixture of concrete and steel. So for finding out the stresses in reinforced cement concrete, we are going to use the strain compactability method, so that what we can find out the stresses in the member due to the application of the loads. Now we will see what is meant by the or what are the assumptions in the strain compactability method. So now let us see what is the strain compactability method. So what this particular strain compactability method is saying is that if some load is applied on RCC members, the strains of the materials, that is, what are the two materials here? It is concrete and steel. The strain in both the materials are same. And what they have assumed is that there is a perfect bond between the materials. That is, between the concrete and steel, there is a perfect bond. So here the stresses in steel divided by the stresses in concrete. So what is stress? Stress is strain into modulus of elasticity. So stresses in steel is strain in steel into modulus of elasticity of steel, divided by stresses in concrete is strain in concrete into modulus of elasticity of concrete. So here what they have mentioned in the strain compactability method, that is, the concrete and steel, the strains in the concrete and the steel are same. So what? Both these two will be cancelled, and what will be remaining? The remaining will be the modulus of elasticity of steel divided by the modulus of elasticity of concrete. So which gives you ES by EC. So what is and that ES by EC is termed as modular ratio. So what is modular ratio? Modular ratio is nothing but ratio of two moduli of elasticity. So that is nothing but the strain compactability method. In the sense, as it is a composite material, we are going to find the equivalent values, because two different materials are there in the RCC. So the ratio of two moduli of elasticity is called as a modular ratio. So in IS 456-2000, the modular ratio value is taken as M is 280 by 3 sigma CBC, which is given in clause 1.3.d. So what is sigma CBC here? Sigma CBC is the permissible compressive stresses of concrete in bending. And these sigma CBC values are given in IS table 21 of IS 456-2000. So from that table, what we can take the values of the sigma CBC and we can find out the modular ratio M. So now what in the working stress method, they have designed the members for the working loads and they have considered the reduced material strengths, and they have designed for the reduced material strengths. So now let us see the disadvantages of working stress method. So what are the disadvantages or the drawbacks of the working stress method? The main drawback is it assumes that the concrete is elastic, which is not true. That is what we have already discussed, that for the both the materials, that is the stress strain curve for concrete as well as the stress strain curve for the steel, both materials has an elastic behavior is what the assumption they have considered in the working stress method. But basically that assumption is not true, because concrete stress strain curve, it will not be linear. Okay, it will be a curved one, but here they have considered it as a linear one. So that is the actual stress strain curve is not taken into consideration, and the elastic behavior is taken into consideration. So that is a drawback. And the next one is the factor of safety is only considered for the stresses, but the factor of safety is not considered for the loads. If suppose if there is any excessive load, okay, that is not clearly shown in the working stress method. That is, the uncertainties which are associated with the loads are not taken into consideration in the design of members in the working stress method. Only the factor of safety for the stresses are only taken into consideration in the design. And the working stress method, they haven't given any accountability for shrinkage and creep. And we have already discussed that the working stress method gives uneconomical sections, that is, we'll get a wider sections. And the working stress method, it does not pay any attention to the conditions which will arise at the time of collapse, because only the behavior of the material is considered only up to the elastic range. But the working stress method is a very simple method, and this particular method is not used nowadays for the design of RCC members. If the limit state of design method, if it is not possible, then only we have to go for the working stress method. But the basic knowledge of this working stress method is very, very important, so that based on these design concepts, we can understand the remaining concepts of ultimate load method and the limit state method. Now, till now what we have seen what is meant by working stress method, and we have seen the drawbacks of the working stress method. Now let us see what is meant by the ultimate load method. So what we have seen, so many drawbacks in the working stress method. The drawbacks are being only the in the stress strain curve of the materials, that is the concrete as well as the steel, only the behavior up to the elastic range is considered. The original behavior of the materials, that is the plastic behavior of the materials, is not taken into consideration. So that is a drawback. The other drawback being the stress strain curves for concrete is taken as linear, but the actual behavior of the concrete is not linear. So that is being a drawback. And only the stresses are factored. The loads are not factored here. Is it or not? So that is a drawback. So based on all these drawbacks, they have come up with a new method of design. That method is nothing but the ultimate load method. Now we'll see what is meant by the ultimate load method. So the ultimate load method is also called as the load factor method. So here by the name itself we can say what it is. The name is ultimate load method. So in this ultimate load method, the design is done based on the ultimate loads. So ultimate loads in the sense is what? The working load is multiplied with a suitable factor of safety, so that we'll get the ultimate load, and the members are designed to this ultimate loads. That is, here we have enhanced the load. So, the ultimate load method is what it is developed to overcome the shortcomings of the working stress method. So, in this method, what the design is done based on the ultimate load or the collapse load. So, how will get this ultimate load or the collapse load? That is the working load into the factor of safety gives you the ultimate load. So here what the factor of safety in the working stress method, the factor of safety for the loads is not considered, but here the factor of safety for the loads is considered and we are enhancing the load, and for that load we are going to design the structures. So that is what it is given here. Okay, so here how it is given, the ultimate load is obtained by multiplying the working load with the load factor or the factor of safety, so that what it gives an exact margin of safety in terms of the load. So there in the working stress method, the margin of safety is considered with respect to the stresses. Here the margin of safety is considered with respect to the load. Now, and one more advantage of the ultimate load method is, in the working stress method they have taken into consideration the stress strain curves of the materials up to the elastic behavior only, but in the ultimate load material the real stress strain curves are taken into account and the plastic behavior of the materials are also taken into consideration. That is, the materials will go beyond the elastic range, that is the behavior of the material beyond the elastic range, that is in the plastic range, is considered in the design of ultimate load method. So due to that, what is happening here, so we are designing the members for the working loads, we are designing the members for the ultimate loads, but the material strength is not reduced. The same material strength is there, but the load is increased here. So that what happens here, even though if the load is enhanced here, as the material strength is kept the same, okay, there we are not satisfying the serviceability criteria. So due to that, what happens, due to more loads there might be excessive deflections and crackings forming in the structural members. So here what, in this particular member, so for more loads the same material strength we will get very thin sections. Okay, so due to this thin sections, what it will happen, there will be excessive deformation and cracking, so that what, it makes the structure unserviceable. So it is making the structure unserviceable. So due to that, what, the ultimate load method is not most commonly used by the designers. It is not used by the designers. So what, in the ultimate load method we are increasing the load, that is we are enhancing the load, but we are designing for the same material strength. As the load is increased and the material strength is kept the same, what is happening, the structure is becoming unserviceable, because we are in the design we are getting very thin sections, and due to that, as the material strength is same and the load is more, there are formation of excessive cracks and deflection. So if excessive cracks and deflection are there in the particular structure, it causes discomfort to the people who are using it. So due to that reason, the structures are becoming unserviceable. So that's the reason why the ultimate load method, or also known as the factored load method, is not used by the designers. So by the name itself, working stress method, you can easily say working stress under the working load, this for the working load, the stresses are being reduced and the design is done there. Here in the ultimate load method, the load has been enhanced, and for the same material strength, the design is done. So now let us see what are the drawbacks of the ultimate load method. So what are the drawbacks, why the ultimate load method is not used? So in the design of ultimate load method, the ultimate strength is used. Okay. So even though the ultimate load is used here, that is the loads has been factored and the ultimate load is used, the ultimate strength is used, that is we are not decreasing the strength of the material. So there might be danger of that. And the next one is, so as we have already discussed, okay, at the service loads only there might be more crackings and deflections which are forming. So that is also a drawback of the ultimate load method. So if the stresses are more, there might be excessive cracking and sometimes the bars are also may be badly disturbed. So these are all the drawbacks of the ultimate load method. So in the next lecture we will discuss regarding the limit state method of design. Thank you.